Welcome back to special stage and to our live coverage of the Kielder Forest Rally. It is round 4 of the Protyre BTRDA Gravel Rally Series, and so far the weather has held, meaning that conditions are far more favourable than the crews were anticipating today. That said, we have had our fair share of drama, and we caught most of it for you through the first stage here in Folston, didn't we? We're about, I don't know, just under a mile further on from where we were in the last stage. This quite complex and fast S-bend towards, for want of a more technical rally description, before the flying finish here on stage 4 with 2 more to go. Bauer and Shepherd's Shield to finish the day and complete the 42.2 miles that make up the Kielder Forest Rally this year. I'll repeat what I said earlier. Fair play to the organisers. A smaller than anticipated entry means that there were a few decisions to be made, but they got this rally running, and it is a valuable part of the championship roster, so I'm pleased that they did, and I know you guys are as well. We had people watching all over the world, Nigeria, Barbados, quite a lot of people in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi and Qatar and Saudi Arabia. But it was good to have you with us wherever you were. If you're just tuning in, this is live coverage of the Kielder Forest Rally. We're awaiting our 2-wheel drive field in reverse seated order. The big news as far as the 2-wheel drive field and the Fuchs Lubricants Bronze Star category is concerned is that Nigel and Kaz Jenkins have retired. All okay as far as the crew is concerned. They've had some kind of problem with the engine. Absolutely gutted for them. I saw a post on Facebook from Kaz. She's distraught about the problems. The Mini Rally Challenge competitors won't be joining us through this stage unless they have opted to do the entire rally, because the Mini Rally Challenge only does half of the entry, but that is Gareth Humphreys with Adam Burkill alongside. So going back to the Bronze Star, Dylan Fowler-Bishop, Dan Evans, we know they go well, and they've got a good opportunity now with that NJ Auto Repairs Green Nova out of the way, because that was going so well. 19-second lead after just the first stage. That's out of the way. It's a good chance for others to catch up in the points situation. Dylan Fowler-Bishop, Dan Evans, currently 5 seconds ahead in the Bronze Star category. Ashley Francis Adams, Dan Petrie behind them and chasing hard. Good performance from them. Again, we know they go well, but it needs everything to come together, and it looks like that partnership in the car is working as well. Will Banks, Matthew Badley into 3rd place in the Bronze Star overall. 35 seconds back from the Mike repair up ahead. And then Dale Glover, who had that really tongue-knottingly challenging situation, didn't he? Come around the corner to find Michael Jenkins poking half out of the ditch in the Tuts Clump Cider Fiesta R2 earlier. Managed to gather it together just in the Alpha Sud. And I'm not going to jinx anything here, I hope, because he does blame me for that quite often. But I am stood on wood, technically touching it. At the moment, consistent and reliable and still in the hunt. Another of the Mini Rally Challenge competitors, John Day, Paul Stringer, who had that frustrating, shall we say, experience on the Manx. Another of the mini competitors here doing the whole of the rally mileage to get an overall rally result. A number of the competitors will choose to do that, but you can score points in the Mini Rally Challenge by doing half the mileage. That's how it works. That's one of the things that makes it such an accessible championship. Here's Giles Armitage, Josh Rhodes. That will be probably the last of our minis then. On his first visit to Kielder and going well so far. He and Martin Beach, also in a 205 GTI, battling it out for Rally First 2-litre honours this season, and Giles will have it all his own way today with no Martin to fight with. One of the big stories of the rally so far, as far as the 2-wheel drive field is concerned, after 3 stages and just 21 or so miles of Kielder, we've got Ben Jemison and Dave Jackson in the Chevette in 8th place overall. That is a formidable performance. It sees them leading the way in the historic cup from Steve Corky Ward. Phil Sandham, who come here in the championship lead with Will Graham and Ernie Lee behind them. That is an absolutely fantastic performance from Ben so far today. As you see, Will Armitage's Jeremy Pole in the sister car, the 306 S16. Don't forget they were 10th in Silver Star last season and will be here in Kielder, and we're looking for a similar result here, especially with the entry a little bit smaller and a few of the notable names struggling so far today. But the pace now in front in the Silver Star and the Historic Cup is crackers. 8th overall, the first of the two-wheel drive cars for that historic Vauxhall Chevette HSR of Ben Jemison and Dave Jackson. Lewis Hooper, Rhys Edwards as well from them in the R2 Rally Cup. We saw them going so well earlier, throwing the rear end of that Fiesta towards the ditches, and that nice downhill off camber 3 right we had for you in the first running of Falston. And Steve Corky Ward, Phil Sandham rounding out the top 10. It's going to be one of those days for an interesting leaderboard, and one that we might be talking about for some time, I think. Clint Davies, Alade Richards, sorry, in his Mark II. And hot on his heels, the induction barking on that MG ZR, James Grattan Smith, Tom Jordan. Of course, usually latterly co-driving for Baz Jordan. I reminded you earlier that he had some fairly leery moments in an Escort G3 back in the day. Actually, not that long ago, maybe 10 years or so ago. Russ Thompson, Stephen Link, of course, after their performance earlier, lead the way in the B13 class. Pat Naylor, Ian Lawrence can't quite get on terms just yet, but they're only 9 seconds back after 3 stages, so I think we can possibly call that almost on terms, can't we? 4th and 5th on the overall leaderboard, respectively. But Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere have a job to do here if they are to turn around what has been a frustrating, I say with a sigh, mixed bag of a season last year. Winning the Welsh title, but really wanted to get their hands on the BTRDA, not quite coming together. This year looking better. They lead the way. More on that because it's an interesting leaderboard in just a moment, as you see. Now upholding family honours. Luke Watts in that new to him MG ZR. Ryan Taylor alongside. Just ahead of Giles Armitage, who you saw through in the 205 GTI a little earlier. 10 seconds ahead, in fact. Car looks like it's going well. It certainly sounds the part, doesn't it? But back to that overall leaderboard. Liam Clark, Emily Easton Page, after that podium on the Border Counties, come here brimming with confidence, and they're currently 2nd place, 22 seconds off the lead. There's Dale Glover, David Smalley in the Alpha Cert. It's a nice little section of corners, this, to bring you on the live coverage, because we can get some real nice depth and track the cars through as they go past us into the flying finish. You can see that it's dried up. There was a little bit of dampness earlier. It's all gone. The midges loving it, loving us. There's not a lot left of us for them to take, I've got to say. We've got photographers out here with pajamas on their heads, and I'm not joking. All manner of anti-midge strategies going on. We, however, don't have any. We've got nothing to offer. So in order to survive this, we need rain and wind. I've never said that on a rally before. So, back to the leaderboard so far. Liam Clark, Emily Easton Page, 22 seconds off Matthew Hurst, Declan Deere. Viv Hamill, Lorcan Moore, another impressive performance so far from them. 29 off the lead, 7 seconds off that 2nd place. Fiesta R5, Fiesta Rally 2. Polo R5, and then it's a Mitsubishi Evo in fourth of Russ Thompson. Stephen Link mentioned him, ahead of Patrick Naylor and Ian Lawrence. Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh are hanging in there, our championship leaders, with 2 maximums and a second coming into this fourth round. And a bit of damage limitation and just some points for the board will do, if that's all they can get. I don't know what the problem was earlier, I haven't heard, but the car came past us standing very poorly indeed, didn't it? They're in sixth. Colin Minton, Adam Westerby, best leaderboard position of the season, or in fact, since he's jumped into that R5 Fiesta, I think, isn't it? 7th place at the moment, and that's ahead of the historic Chevette of Ben Jemison, we've already talked about. Roger Nevitt, Ben Wild through the stage there, stepping up from 1400C 5 years ago, but not done an awful lot of events in that time. COVID and a few other things getting in the way. But it would be nice to see him register for championship points and have another R2 car fighting in the R2 Rally Cup, which is gaining its legs. Ernie and Patricia Lee then, at the moment, lie 4th place in the historic cup. A fair way off Will Graham and Robin Callard in the RS 1600. As far as the point situation go, they'll be okay with that. Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere were talking about the advantage that they would have running first on the road with the dust, which they were expecting to have been cancelled out due to the weather forecast that we were all staring at. Just the weather forecast, or weather forecasting at the moment, is dreadful, isn't it? I don't like to talk about it too much, but BBC weather forecasters at the moment just don't seem to know what they're talking about. Watching the BBC News and listening to it on the way here this morning, it's nothing like what we've got. I know the same is true back home as well, where my little boy Cole has just won a football tournament in what were meant to be rain-soaked conditions, and it hasn't been so. What is going on with that? Bring back Michael Fish. I don't know if Michael Fish was any good, actually. Back to rallying. Don't forget, if you are getting involved with our live coverage today in any way, just commenting on one of the streams, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, on specialstage.tv, or indeed Motorsport UK TV. All we want to do this year is get you involved a little more. And to do that, we teamed up with Rallying is Life, Dan Elmore's brand, where you can find a fantastic array of rally merchandise, special stage. We get asked about special stage merchandise all the time, where you can get it at Rallying is Life. Just check them out on Facebook, look for their shop, link on there, and we'll be giving away another one of those money can't buy t-shirts that you all want so much, and that I want as well, to be fair, on today's live coverage, as we are with every bit of live coverage that we're doing this year. There's David Coatsworth, Chris Patterson, not registered for BTRDA points, but slowly putting the results together after switching to that Super 1600 spec MGZR in 2021, having successfully campaigned, if you remember that, 1400 MGZR prior to that. Second in the class on the Raponian in 2024 to start his season. Puts him in good stead coming here to the Kielder Forest Rally. If you're just tuning in, it is round 4 of the Protyre BTRDA Gravel Rally Series. The fastest rally drivers in all categories on gravel are on the screen in front of you right now. And there's one of them, Chris Bush, Robert Bryn Chicken Jones in the Corsa. First visit to Kielder since the Carlisle stages. Michael Jenkins and Jordan Joynes have had a shocker today, nursing the car through, and they're continuing to do that, having had a chance to look at it back in service after the third stage was pretty problematic, and they've still got the hazards on and are crawling the car through. But crucially, as far as the B10 class is concerned, where they are the only runners today, Lucy Wigley not here in the C2, so it's a day of getting points on the board. Maximum points are theirs if they get to the end, which is why they're limping that car through. It's a perfect opportunity not to be wasted in that Tutzklump Proper Cider sponsored Fiesta R2. If you're wondering why we're mentioning that so much, by the way, it's always good to have new sponsors in the sport, and we like to celebrate those. So if you have any new sponsors on your rally car and you'd like us to mention or get involved on any Facebook competitions you're running, we're always happy to, because the more sponsors we have, the healthier the sport. It's all good. But there's a story behind this one. The Tutsklump Proper Cider brewery was struggling. I'm not sure of the current situation, but they were doing a crowdfunding campaign. It's a traditional family-owned brewery. There aren't many of those left, and Colin Minton with his Ignition Motorsport team took on the mission to raise the profile and just get the word out there a little bit this year, and it's starting to work. Everyone's talking about it, and it's a really nice little story if you check it out on social media. But do follow the Tutsklump Proper Cider page, because they're running a competition for you to win a case of special stage cider. Yes, you heard right. You can also win a very authentic rally experience in the passenger seat on a gravel rally test with one of the Ignition Motorsport crew, or perhaps both of them, the R5 of Colin Minton and the R2 Fiesta of Michael Jenkins. That just explains, if you're wondering why we mention it so much. Well, they have put our name on a bottle of cider as well. I mean, there are ways of getting yourself some extra coverage, and that is one of them, isn't it? I'll bring you some times as they come through shortly. Paddy Homan, Tom Homan in that Puma were in 6th place. No, they weren't at all, were they? They were in 4th place. After 3 stages, Dylan Fowler-Bishop, Ashley Francis-Adams, Will Banks, and then that Puma of Paddy and Tom Homan. In terms of the co-driver situation, which is a little different depending on who's registered, who's not in co-driver terms, Tom is actually in 3rd place so far on today's leaderboard. So that pair fighting for a podium in the Bronze Star today, with the loss of Nigel and Kaz Jenkins making that job just a little bit easier. Second in 1400S as well, that little Puma. Here's a car then that is being driven exceptionally well today. Mick Smith, Emma Cooper. Emma, of course, normally in with Lucy Wigley, who I mentioned in the C2. This two not registered for championship points, but interestingly will be right up there in the Bronze Star leaderboard today. Interestingly, Lucy jumping into, you've got to follow me here, jumping into her driver's seat for this round. Paul Stringer, who was co-driving in the Mini Rally Challenge earlier, you saw from him just a little bit earlier, co-drives in this car. So she's jumped into her driver's seat. I'm confusing myself now, let alone you guys watching at home. I do apologise. It's all very complicated, but it's one of those little nuanced situations which is quite nice to bring you news of. Join you guys for a little bit, see where you're watching from, drop into the discussion, talking of cars that are being driven well today. Ashley Francis-Adams is doing a marvellous job with Dan Petrie alongside today. 2nd place and just 5 seconds behind coming into this 4th stage here in Falston, behind Dylan Fowler-Bishop. That pair of Micras charging now in the lead of the Bronze Star category, the 1400 category here in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, with, as I mentioned, the loss of Nigel and Kaz Jenkins. Was 5th in the Bronze Star on last year's Kielder Forest stages. Had Lucy Wilding co-driving on last year's event. And at the moment, looking set to blow that result out of the water. And that was a decent result as well, given the leaderboard and the competitive entry on that particular day. But here is your Bronze Star leader, Dylan Fowler-Bishop. Dan Evans alongside, their second visit to Kielder. Took their lowest Bronze Star result of the season on last year's Kielder Forest Rally. And here is that V12 engine Jaguar XJS, which sounds lovely. Of Ed Abbott. Nice little story to that if you missed it earlier. Ed, he's 70 years old. He, when he was 20, started as an apprentice at Jaguar. Before that, but when he was 20, he became a senior design engineer and was actually test driving Jaguar cars, prototypes around Europe, including the XJS. Since became a specialist in them and taking what is around about the car's debut. I don't think we have many, especially with stage rallying, if any, as you see Matthew Stroud and Joel Wharton through the stage in their Mark II. And here he is in the Abbott Racing Motorsport car, which they've prepared at great length, changing it from a car that was fit to do Hero era kind of road navigation target type events across Europe, such as the historic Monte Carlo event that the Hero team run, and joining us out here on the famous roads of Kielder Forest, where many legends have been made before them. Tony Pond won this stage on the 85 Lombard RAC in the MG Metro 6R4. Malcolm Wilson, almost 10 years later, in the Michelin Pilot Escort Cosworth. Tapio Laukinen in a similarly yellow and blue liveried Formula 2 McGann. We've seen some big moves in these forests over the years. We've had plenty of entertainment from the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series today so far, haven't we? 4 stages of 6. This is 42 and a bit stage miles altogether. Today's Kielder Forest Rally, round 4 of the series. Before we head back to Wales for the Nicky Griff stages. First of our Chevettes. Goodness me, that looks and sounds the business, doesn't it? Andrew McCormick, Rudy Tate. First trip to England for rallying this year. 2 top 10 class finishes in Northern Ireland to start his season off. Only ever been in that Chevette HSR. 15 years he's been rallying that car. You can tell that they know each other well. There's Will Banks and Matthew Badley then. We confirmed the name of their rally dog is indeed a French-inspired name. It is Denis, not Dennis. Earlier on, if you were interested to know that. If you want to scroll down the results, by the way, and have a look, whichever driver you're following, and follow their progress today. If you haven't already, you can do that at BTRDA rallyresults.co.uk. So Dylan Fowler-Bishop took another 2 seconds here in the second running of Falston from Ashley Francis Adams in those 2 micras to continue his lead of the Fuchs Lubricants Bronze Star category. There's Alfie Hammond with Phil Boyle alongside. Second place in the R2 Rally Cup after the 3rd stage today, Shepherd's Shield, and going well through here. We'll have some times shortly. There's a big rock just on the, was it a bit of log just on the line there, being dragged out by one of the cars, which could cause a interesting moment if someone hits that at the wrong angle. Dylan Fowler-Bishop, Ashley Francis Adams, Dale Glover, Chris Bush, Paddy Homan, James Grattan-Smith, Luke Watts. Currently the 1400 leaderboard after this 4th stage, the second running and the final running today of the 8.5 mile Falston stage. Here's Alistair Hutchinson, John Dykes alongside in the Clio Maxi. Using the diff to just pull the car through the inside of the corner there and fling it towards the flying finish. That is Falston done. On to Bauer up next and Shepherd's Shield to finish this year's Kielder Forest Rally. The rain is threatening, the sky is dark and thunderous looking, and you can just start to feel the first drops of rain, something we've all been longing for today. It's not often you will hear rally media saying that, but it has been a day for wanting some rain just to get rid of the midges. Rain or wind would have been lovely. The spectators all looking a little bit sinister in their various concoctions of midge net and pyjama and tight combinations over their faces. Producer Wayne and I are jealous of every single one of them if they haven't had midges around their head all day. Douglas Menzies, Graham Menzies there. He's been rallying for 3 years and got a decent result on last year's RAC, 6th in the D3 class, which is a formidable performance, formidable rally to be finishing 6th in class within 3 years of starting your career in a rally car. And the first of the two Hannu Mikkola style liveried Mark II Escorts in that motorcraft white and combination blue stripes. One of my favourite rally car liveries of all time. There was one up for sale recently. It was one of the Monty arched Escorts. I don't know if you remember seeing that for sale. Lee Ashbury, actually, we've missed him on the entry today, but he has one of those cars. We saw it on the Manx. And we've got two of those motorcraft liveried Mikkola-esque cars on today's entry. The second one due up next with Bonami Grimes, who comes here fresh from a 4th in the Tuttle Porsche on the East African Safari Rally. An historic event in all manner of ways, that one. I'm pleased to say we've got rain and a bit of wind and the midges have all disappeared. Well, there's certainly not as many of them. Lynn Lyons, Joseph Patterson then. Just giving us a taste of what this forest might have looked like back in the late 80s, early 90s, when the Sierra Cosworths ruled the roost. Group A scenes here on today's Kielder Forest Rally. And here's the second of those Mikkola liveried Escorts. This one, I mentioned him, Bonami Grimes, sorry, Matt Edwards alongside, 3-time British Rally champion in the co-driver's seat, delivering not only pace notes, but some valuable tuition and insight from the co-driver's seat. He's doing a lot of this now, Matt. He went from instructing on test days to really carving out a bit of a niche for himself, actually instructing from inside the rally car on competitive events. He's done it on the Isle of Man, he's done it on Rally Barbados, he's done it in Wales, and he's doing it here in Kielder in Northumberland. And Bonami's list of co-drivers does read as a who's who of drivers and co-drivers. Dale Furness, Martin Rowe, Patrick Walsh, Will Atkins. And that car is absolutely beautiful. It's a Viking motorsport car built by Phil Mills' crew. So as you might expect, it is the bee's knees. And it's not the only new Escort out here today either. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but now I'm going to be mirroring my words earlier, because we have swapped dusty, dry, midgy conditions for quite heavy rain. And that is going to make the second part of today's live stream fairly interesting, both on the stage and here stage side, bringing you the action. Be careful what you wish for, Woodford. Johnny Hepworth, Dave Boys have hit that rain halfway through this Falston stage. That's not what you want to do. Hello to Bonnie Papa watching from the Isle of Man. Normally, of course, inside that Ignition Motorsport R5 Fiesta with Colin Minton. Not today. Sean Durgley saying it's coming down at Bowers at the finish line. Yeah, it's coming down here at Folkestone as well. There's Jeremy Easton, Mike Reynolds in the Mark 1. Rick Hardway's watching from Ohio. Good to have you with us. Elwyn Pritchard watching whilst doing a Simpsons jigsaw puzzle. Brilliant. I like to think that if you're doing something that you have to concentrate on, but you've got us on in the background, where I love the line of that Mark 1 around the corner, by the way. I love to think of us as acoustic wallpaper. When I used to work as a professional radio presenter, I used to love that expression, because that's what we were. And sometimes, even today as a rally presenter, you find yourself being just that. Something in the background. Entertaining. Bring people the story of what's happening, even if they're not fully concentrating. Jack Matthewson, Josh Carr. 5th rally, already 3 class podiums, and somebody who very definitely should be entering to score BTRDA points. You saw just how sideways he was through there, carrying the speed and not afraid to use the road and really pick a line and stick with it in that Mark 2. He always looks like such a mature driver because he gets the car at such angles and yet carries his speed. Miles Cartwright said that to me as well, and of course he's got a lot of experience as a co-driver, and he said when he first sat with Jack, you're going to have to watch this boy, he's quick. And he is, of course, one of the Bangers and Cash stars. Known for their auctions of classic cars, so why not throw their hat in the ring? The boys have been rallying their dads, Jack's dad, Charlie's dad. Charlie, of course, the junior rally champion. Paul and Dave Matheson have been rallying since the 90s, I believe. I remember going to the Bangers and Cash Courtney Car Museum when it was a museum, not an auction, and they had a Skoda Felicia Challenge car out the back, just dumped there, and I was always intrigued by that as a kid. Here's a man who came here leading the way in the historic Cup and in the Silver Star. Chances are he will leave here, as things stand right now, also leading the way, but he hasn't got things all his own way today, because Ben Jemison has been very, very quick today in that Chevette and leads the way. Steve's actually been down in 3rd in the Historic Cup leaderboard on today's stages. After 3 stages, still half the rally to go, including this one. Brian Kemp's watching. He's called himself Brian of Burwash. Sounds like an actual title, doesn't it? Brian of Burwash. Anyway, anyone who has got involved and commented on any of the streams today will go in that draw to win one of the Rally TV t-shirts from Rallying is Life. If you haven't seen Nick Dobson and Steve Pugh's moment from earlier on today, by the way, in the first stage of the day, it's a mile from where we are now through this Folkestone stage before the end. They rolled car, and on the roof with the car just about to return to its wheels, Nick had the car slammed into first gear, had the revs up, was ready to go as soon as it landed back on its wheels. Extremely experienced rally driver, that, who foresees such a moment and capitalises. They can't have lost more than 10 seconds, probably even less, with that roll. And how often can you say that? John Lowe, Cliffy Simmons Escort, is smelling very hot. Lots of brake and clutch smells coming through here. Mentioned earlier, he's a bit of a try before you buy merchant. 6 years in a Nova, did 1 rally in a Satria, then left rallying for 8 years. He's come back in a Mark 2. I don't know what that says about Proton Satrias, but he certainly seems to be getting on okay in that Mark 2, doesn't he? Coming towards the end of the 2-wheel drive field in reverse seated order, we'll be into the main 4-wheel drive field here on the Kielder Forest Rally. Our rally leaders will be first into the stage. One of our R2 Rally Cup contenders there, Sam Adams. Pushing on through this last section of corner before they get to the flying finish. And again, that car smelling like it's really been hard on the brakes. First world problem, sorry, here, producer Wayne, but my notes are wet from that little spell of rain we had just then, but it has got rid of the midges, which, at the moment, at least I'm eternally grateful. Sorry, Sam Mason, wasn't it? James Seymour alongside. Second place in the R2 Rally Cup on the Rally Nut stages. Didn't do the Border Counties. There's a DNF on the Malcolm Wilson, so we haven't had a full chance to see what it's capable of. We've now had a flavour of it on Rally Nut. Excuse me a moment while I juggle with wet notes here. Occupational hazard of being old-fashioned and insisting on using paper notes. But there's something about doing things the old-fashioned way sometimes, because when the rain comes, then things get difficult. If you've got an iPad, you're gonna struggle, whereas you've got a notepad, you know where you are. Hooper has been flying today. Really getting to grips with that R2 Fiesta after stepping up from the 1400S Micro, which, let's not forget, wasn't that long ago, was it? He was in a Rally First Micro, and gave us all a masterclass, didn't he, on how to drive a front-wheel drive, low-powered rally car with no diff. It's his 7th rally in the R2 now, and after winning the R2 Rally Cup here in the BTRDA series on the last 2 rounds, the Rally Nut 7 Valley and the Border Counties, you could say things are going the right way for him. Will Graham, Robin Kellard then going extremely well, 2nd in the Historic Cup leaderboard after 3 stages. I tell a lie, he was 3rd actually after 3 stages, just looking back on the leaderboard after stage 3 through Shepherd's Shield. It was Ben Jemison, Steve Ward, wasn't it, and then Will Graham. He had a faster stage time than Steve, I believe, through one of them, which is what I was looking at. Steve must have had a bit of a problem through one of those, perhaps. Sam Mason and James Seymour, though, in that R2 Fiesta, 12th overall after 3 stages. There he is, Ben Jemison. The man who always looks animated behind the wheel, and he's pretty animated when he's outside of the car as well. Described in America when he was doing an international radio controlled car race, because he's quite a good radio controlled car racer, and that's quite a skill in itself, by the way. The always smiling Brit. I've seen a couple of occasions this season when he hasn't been smiling that much. It's not been the smoothest of seasons for him, but he's showing his class today in that Jemison Engineering Vauxhall Chevette. And it is great to see him going so well, having joined us here in the BTRDA Historic Cup after taking a D4 class championship title in the British Historics. Jordan, Arwell Jenkins back in that Avenger, parking the Group A Galant VR4 in the garage just for now. We will see it back out. Time's just starting to come through from the 2nd run through the Jordan Road surfacing. Funnily enough, Bauer stage the 2nd running of that, leaving just the Shepherd's Shield stage for the first of the crews on the reverse seated entry to complete before heading back to Hexham for the finish. Just around 4 o'clock, you'll start to see cars trickling back into the finish in Hexham at the auction mart. Plenty of places to park down there. There's a nice McDonald's and quite a few other places to grab a drink or a coffee or something to eat. If you fancy heading down there this afternoon, and it's always good to see fans gathered at the finish. Here's a very second-hand looking Mark II Escort. It's all wonky at the front end, and I saw a picture from Steve Pugh inside that car. It was a little bit more damaged than we initially thought after that roll. It pushed the windscreen in a bit, but fair play. I'll say again, as much as no one likes to see a car go over, and we don't like to see cars with damage, you know, It's an expensive sport as it is. If we're going to see someone roll, I want to see him do it like that. Over in style. First gear engaged while the car was still rolling. Revs up, and as soon as it landed, straight back onto the stage. I think Nick, although he'd be fairly frustrated with the expense and the hassle of having to get that damage fixed after the run, I think he will look back on that one, and it will be one of those memories and one of those clips that he dines out on for some time. I know I would, and I look forward to reading Pewey's rally report afterwards. As you see, an absolute giant of our sport. One of the Yorkshire Rally Mafia, Steve Bannister, Callum Atkinson alongside. In that familiar liveried Mark II Escort. Talking to the Yorkshire Rally Mafia, by the way, Jonathan Pullin has another book with, it's a photo-based storybook coming out later this year. There'll be a book launch in Malton, I think, coming up later in the year, I think November time, but do look out for that. Check out Jonathan Pullen's page on Facebook for details, and he and I are then working on something very special happening at the Motorist near Leeds, Sherburn in Elmet, between Leeds and York, to follow the Rally Legends Day, where we had John Millington as a special guest. This is going to be something really exciting, and it will really tap into an era and a category of the sport that we all talk about. So once Jonathan's finished pulling together the last bits of his book, we'll be full steam ahead telling you about what we've got coming up with some very special guests at the Motorist. So do look out for that. There's Rob Wright, Mark Fisher, 2022 Silver Star champions. Fairly decent year for them, fourth in class to start the year at the Malcolm Wilson Rally. Didn't do the rallying at Severn Valley, I don't think, did they? But they were first in class last time out at the Board of Counties, perhaps ruining their decision not to register for championship points here in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series, because what could have been perhaps a second Silver Star title would be on the cards, or at least a title fight here as we go into the second half of the season. Nice little battle between this pair and Matthew Robinson and Kim Gray. There's David Cross and Ben Taggart, the RS 1800. Robbo has a new car for this rally. It's a Cartec prepared car, as you might expect, and it has a Rothmans livery. The first one was very much in the Robinsons road surfacing, was the Cossack style livery, wasn't it? This one is the Rothman style livery, and it's just a sumptuous looking thing. There's a word I didn't think I'd say today. Should use that word more often, Producer Wayne. Sumptuous. Use that word to describe your lunch. It has some kind of Thai curry thing, and the vans, you can tell that the special stage studio vans are getting more prepared, because the lunches are getting a little bit more elaborate rally after rally. We're getting there with this. It's taken a while. Look at Robbo. That is full Robbo mode, that. Pitching the car in at a proper angle. Look at that, sideways through the flying finish. That was nicely done from Matthew Robinson and Kim Gray. 2014 BTRDA historic champion Matthew Robinson. Starting to pull the events together now. We haven't seen much of him in the last few seasons. It's been quite a few years for him, really, compared to previous ones, but even his wife Christina is out rallying now in the Legacy RS. Looking forward to seeing that through again. It's a real treat to see Group A cars on these stages, but look at this. Talking a treat, Shane McGear, Denver Ramsey in the S2000 Honda engines, 2.4 litre Lada Riva. What a sight and sound that machine is. 2014, 2016 Irish forestry champion, who came inside the top 10 overall on the Killarney Forestry Rally earlier this year. He was 7th overall in the last rally he did as well, in that Lada, swaps between that and a Starlet on the Irish rounds. That is a car to see out, isn't it? It's cars like that that just appear on the entry sometimes, and you look down and you think, oh, I can't wait to see that. Rallying's a treat. You know, we look forward to seeing the leaderboards and watching what happens here in the Protyre BTRDA series. And you look forward to seeing the protagonists out in their usual machines doing battle, but then you get these little treats thrown in between as well. The old Group A car. the old modified historic car like that Lada. And cars with a lovely story to them, like the Ed Abbott Jaguar XJS. We are very lucky to have a real spectacle of a sport to enjoy, aren't we? And I would say we enjoy it to the max as well. David Crossan took 1 second. I was talking about that battle between him and Matthew Robinson. Took 1 second out of Robbo through here just then. They were both on it, weren't they? But Robbo just looked leery, didn't he? Just pitching the car in. Works style, you know what I mean. But Robbo still leads the way overall. Although, looking at the times, actually, it's so close. They're on an identical time overall. That is one heck of a battle. You know, it's a while ago now, but I remember producer Wayne and I looking at each other then. Remember when Robbo used to be in the hunt for titles, and you knew that it would be either, you know, all or nothing in the next stage. It was like the McRae thing, wasn't it? If Robbo and Sambo Collis were going into a stage with a title or a rally to win, it was going to be hero or zero. Either take it all home or leave it all in a tree or in a bush somewhere. Back towards those days and that battle between him and David Crossan today, perhaps. Obviously, we want to take it home, not leave it in the trees, so I better leave that one there. Ben Jemison, though, a formidable performance from him. In the battle of the registered points, two-wheel drives. There's 2 seconds between Ben Jemison's Chevette HSR and the Fiesta R2 of Lewis Hooper. There's a good performance through this stage as well from Baz Jordan, he and Will Graham, who is third in the Historic Cup at the moment. Today, on an identical time, 7:31 their stage time through here. Nick Dobson not letting that roll with he and Pewey earlier impede anything on his confidence. 7:35 from him. Benami Grimes is on the move the right way up the leaderboard as well. Obviously that experience of Matt Edwards alongside is helping there. A 7:43 through here. But in the story of the Bronze Star category, it's still Dylan Fowler-Bishop leading the way. Nice and close though. It's only 7 seconds the gap between him and Ashley Francis Adams in second place. That's going to play out over the next 2 stages, isn't it? We're going to have some of those times coming through the second Falston stage now. And in fact, we have Dylan Fowler-Bishop. Oh, wow. Sorry, the second Bauer stage. Dylan Fowler-Bishop then taking, wow, 8 seconds to make the gap at the top of the Bronze Star category. 15 now going into the final Shepherd's Shield stage. 5 or so miles through there, not a lot they can do. Here we go then, the first of our 4-wheel drive cars. And going into the second half of the season, if I may add a little bit of poetry in, perhaps you're looking at a champion's drive. If this result continues, that will be two maximum scores for the man who comes here setting out to do just one thing. That. Matthew Hurst, Declan Deere, starting the season with a 6th overall in the BTRDA at the Malcolm Wilson. Then it was a first place at the Rally Nuts, then a second place at the Border Counties. At the moment, as poetry would have it, Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh coming to this stage in 6th place. With drop scores taken into account and Hurst taking a maximum, that would leave them level. It was set up a thrilling second half of the season. That amigos. Rally 2 Fiesta though sounds like it is now firing on all cylinders. Whatever issues they had before, elbows up towards the window, tells you that Elliot Payne is on one and he is trying to gather back some of that time that he lost with whatever problem they had through the first stage this morning. You know they're pushing when you see one of these modern WRC spec or Clubman versions of with their elbows up against the window, because They're not really designed to be driven like that, and that is called arm wrestling. And when you're arm wrestling a Rally 2 Fiesta, things are on the move. Matthew Hurst, Declan Deer through the flying finish. And Elliot Payne, sure enough, took 3 seconds out of them in this stage. It's not going to make much of a difference to their overall fight together, but every position Elliot can claw back, bearing in mind he was fighting with those B13 cars, wasn't he? Russ Thompson and Patrick Naylor in that order. Here is the first of them, Russ Thompson, Stephen Link. Would absolutely love, I'm sure, to be fighting on equal terms in a Rally 2 or at least an R5 Fiesta with some of these guys, but I tell you what, he would love even more to do a Sean Gardner and be the last person to have taken the BTRDA title, the Gold Star title in the B13 car. He's not far away. He's had a, you know, it would take a good combination of pace, which he's got, consistency, which he has just put together. Now, there used to be seasons where Russ would win a rally, put it in the trees, win a rally, retire. He just seems to have the consistency to go with the pace now. It just takes perhaps a little bit of look in the opposite direction for some of the more powerful competition, but you wouldn't bet against it completely, would you? Look at that. I talked earlier about what a Rallycross star looks like in these forests, and that is what it looks like. Patrick O'Donovan, Jack Morton, fully broadside through here, not featuring on our BTRDA leaderboard, of course. Russ Thompson then putting a time through this stage which is 9 seconds slower than our rally leaders, Matthew Hurst, Declan Deer in a B13 Evo. That's it, 9 seconds. I'm just going to go to the overall rally results and I want to see how the O'Donovan times shape up compared to our BTRDA Rally Championship contenders, because you are looking at the fastest rally drivers in the UK on gravel here. That's it. That's the story. Jonathan Greer, Niall Burns having a cracking year, all top 10 finishers, including winning that Killarney Historic Rally in the Sierra Cosworth. Again, not registered for points, which is ever so frustrating when that happens. You have these fantastic battles shaping up in the overall results, but as far as the championship is concerned, you feel like you've been robbed a little bit. We need these guys to register for points so we can so take this stage for example. Oh, we haven't got time through on this stage, so ignore me. Take the first stage. There we go. Right, so Patrick O'Donovan, Jack Morton were 5th on the first stage. He's only done one gravel rally before. Patrick, a test rally with Jack alongside recently, but 5th overall, not counting the BTRDA Championship registered crews. Here's Ollie O'Donovan, who is a little bit further down in 12th overall on the opening stage. Former British Rallycross champion, current European Rallycross race winner and championship contender. Both of those O'Donovans formidable contenders on the Rallycross scene, and Patrick also doing Extreme E and is it Nitro Cross and a few other things. He's got a very exciting lifestyle. My eldest son Mason follows Patrick and tends to keep me up to date with what he's doing, but he's living a very superstar Rallycross driver lifestyle. Rallycross kind of goes under the radar, but it's such a big high profile thing when it comes to town and the places where it competes, and you just see very little of it in the mainstream social media even, don't we? It's there and it is a big deal. And again, after some time out of the car for Dan O'Brien. Last full season he did was 2014. He did odd events in 21, 22. Came third on the Rally North Wales event to start this season, if you may remember that, in the Welsh Championship. But he was 8th overall after the first stage here. With a few more miles under their belts, Patrick O'Donovan was 3rd. Actually, an equal 2nd with Vivian Hamill and Lorcan Moore, who've been so impressive, haven't they, in that Polo R5. On the stage times, this is, through the 3rd stage. Shepherd's Shield last time out. Here is a pair, though, going back to our BTRDA registered crews, who have really impressed me. Super composure and just able somehow to get to grips with that Rally 2. I was speaking to Liam at the awards tour at Drayton Manor at the beginning of the year, where we talked about the results of last year and handed out the trophies, of course. And we were stood in the bar at the beginning. I said, "Is it true you got a Rally 2 Fiesta for next year?" He just gave me a sort of cheeky grin. He's only a young lad, is Liam, and just stepping up from the R2 Fiesta into a Rally 2. I said, "That's a hell of a jump." And he nodded. And you know, a few of us said that night, that's one heck of a jump up. But how well have those two handled that jump up? The 5th fastest stage time then through this 2nd and final run through Falston. The rain has stopped and the midges are back, by the way. Midge watch. Listen to that. Just listen to it. Group A in full swing. Ian Joel, Graham Wood in the Escort Cosworth. Just looks and sounds incredible, doesn't it? It just, that era. Oh, smell it. It smells warm. It smells like I'm transported back to being a kid in the mid-90s, stood watching the RAC Rally and Network Q or whatever it would have been. No, it would have been RAC mid-90s, wouldn't it? It's just at all angles. Those cars used to just dance around the road, didn't they? And thanks to Ian Joel, they still are. Nice to see a Escort Cosworth back on a podium, wouldn't it? Last time we saw that, as I mentioned earlier, was the Malcolm Wilson Rally in 2019. Not that long ago, just before the world changed a little bit. Took 2nd place. Fantastic. Love to see the car out, but you know that. So, at the moment then, no Viv Hamill, Lorcan Moore, or Patrick Naylor, Ian Lawrence. They want a piece of that blue Evo B13, don't they? They nearly took a piece of stage furniture with them trying to get it. In their red B13, which is Production Spec Plus, basically. It's what used to be called the Production Cup here in the BTRDA, and those two took that championship in 2021, where at around the time they were always formidable and the ones to beat. And Russ Thompson did his kind of learning, his apprenticeship, following those guys on the leaderboard, and now look, that's how it works. I was about to say we're missing Viv Hamill and Lorcan Moore from the 4th stage. We hadn't seen them through. They should have been car 3 on the road, running a bit further back, but certainly on song. Where does that, but let's have a look at those times, because Pat Naylor was pushing hard through there, wasn't he? It's still dropping, actually, time from Russ Thompson. Dan O'Brien now splitting him on the non-championship crews, but as far as the B13 battle is concerned, yeah, it's 25 seconds now, the gap between those B13 Evos, despite that heroic line taken through here, very sideways, by Pat Naylor, pushing that car hard. Viv Hamill dropping a 5th fastest stage time overall. That will put him 3rd fastest in the BTRDA crews. Johnny Greer, Patrick O'Donovan on the non-registered crews, just splitting him in 3rd and 4th from Matthew Hurst. But at the moment, Matthew Hurst, as far as our championship is concerned, leads the way. Liam Clark, Emily Easton Page behind in second. 28 seconds the gap. Viv Hamill a further 6 seconds back. The chase on through the next 2 stages. Just watch that battle for second place. I've got a feeling there will be something to watch into the next stage there. As you see John Bannister and Emma Clark through. We lost one of our fantastic championship protagonists, someone we were talking about earlier that has really come on strong so fast. Daniel Sigurðsson, Asta Sigurdardóttir in the Rally 2 Fiesta, our 2016 Icelandic rally champion, who this year could just get himself into that title fight into the second half of the season, but today would have done him no favours whatsoever as far as that goal is concerned. Haven't got the retirements list in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he will be showing on there. Michael Glendinning, Charlie Sayer-Painen, good pace from them today in the Impreza. Sorry, excuse me, trying to multitask. Yeah, stopped in stage 2. Daniel Sigurðsson, the Icelandic pair. Frustrating for them. Nigel Jenkins, we knew about that from a championship point of view. Not the most attrition-filled rally today, but some notable retirements on there nonetheless. There's Darren Martin and Daniel Hurst. Taking their time to get up to speed today, but once they did, they're putting in some good times, actually. Go back to the leaderboard as we head towards the last few crews on the entry here. So back to the BTRDA leaderboard then. Coming into this stage, as I mentioned, Elliot Payne, Patrick Walsh, who needed a big push, and they've certainly had one through this stage. We're in 6th place. Pat Naylor, Ian Lawrence in 5th. Russ Thompson, Steve Ling in 4th. Then it was Viv Hamill, Lorcan Moore, first of our podium positions. It was all very tight, by the way. 6 seconds between him and Liam Clark, Emily Easton Page. And then it was Matthew Hurst, Declan Deere at the top. That is after the second run through Forson as the cars head towards Bauer. And there is Colin Minton, who, the R5 Fiesta, all out of shape coming in through this final series of bends towards the flying finish. You've got to, sound like I know what I'm talking about, what am I on about, but you've got to see this series of corners here as one section, and you have to kind of set yourself up in the first one. And we saw probably the best example of that was Matthew Robinson, really pitching the car in and knew what he was doing through this section into the flying finish as he came into view. Colin not quite stringing them together, taking a corner at a time there, and you can see the car very out of shape compared to those who planned their approach to these corners. If you're a rally driver watching this and I'm talking bollocks, I apologise, but I don't think I am. It's there or thereabouts in scientific terms anyway, isn't it? Dylan Fowler-Bishop, Dan Evans then still putting those times in to lead the way in the Bronze Star category. To remind you, we lost Nigel and Kaz Jenkins. I'm still waiting for quite a few of our times through there, but Steve Ward put in a great time in that next race. And he needs to, because he's fighting with that Chevette of Ben Jemison, who hasn't yet got a time through the second barrel stage. I'm not sure he will by the time we run towards the end of our cruise. As you see, Adam Durston-Hillier, Chris Davies through, Christina Robinson and Grum Wilcock in the thumping 555 style liveried. What are you doing, producer, when you're disappearing into your hoodie? Is that your midge protection strategy? Yeah, we're looking for that thumping 555 liveried Legacy RS standard Group A, which will be ringing in our ears. So it was Mike Motes actually through just then, wasn't it? Not Adam Durston-Hillier, thinking about it. Hopefully we'll leave you with a nice thumping soundtrack of Group A to go with you for the rest of the day, for whatever you're doing today. So after this fourth stage of the day, it is looking good for Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere. They have 28 seconds on the supremely impressive, it's got to be said, Liam Clark and Emily Easton-Page. Vivian Hamill, Lorcan Moore staying within reaching distance, just 6 seconds behind, and there is that legacy. The glorious sight and the sound on these stages. Russ Thompson, Stephen Link, just over a minute off the lead, 30 seconds back from the Polo R5. And just as the midges come back out to eat us alive, it was a shorter than usual entry to bring you today on the Kielder Forest Rally, but thank you to the organisers for the effort that has gone in to make sure that we can come out here on these stages and have such great entertainment for you. Thank you to all of the marshals and spectators who have joined us and braved the midges. You can see them flying around. It's like a scene out of Jurassic Park in the van on the way back between stages, I can tell you. We have loved today. This is, well, it takes us, doesn't it, into the halfway point in the Protyre BTRDA Rally Series. It takes us into the second half of the season, and we're only 4 stages in, so do continue to follow the results at btrdarallyresults.co.uk, and we'll head to the finish now and do some work for the special stage rally show, where we fully expect to be seeing a championship title fight emerge, and there'll be some stories to be told after the 6 stages here on these famous Killer Kielder stages, won't there, today, across all of the categories. We'll be back with you with live coverage from the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. It's very hard not to get tongue-tied with all these championships at the moment, coming thick and fast. We're back into the live rally mode, and we'll be back with you live from Argyle next week, where I'm sure the midges will follow us as well, so there'll be more midge watch as well. Thank you for joining us today. If you've commented on the live stream, that means you're in the draw to win one of the Rallying is Life Rally TV t-shirts. We hope we've entertained you for at least part of your Saturday and given you a bit of relief from the football. But if you are watching the football this weekend, are they coming home? Are they bringing it home? We'll see. For now, though, rallying is very much coming home, isn't it? 2024 is the year of the rally car, and we are loving it. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.